April 27, 1961. Granny and Vicky all go gladdy. Young boys and girls all go rum.
All the mountains you see around Freetown, all the shorelines are settlements that were established after slave trade. And as people who have been captured along the coast, they are all brought here to Freetown. And they were scattered. They will take some of the hills here. Wilberforce. Wilberforce is what? British name. That's how the thing started. That's why the mentality started. And the people who are there, if it were the local, their name doesn't matter anymore. Wilberforce, Regent, Charlotte, Wellington, all foreign names. Whereas Lumley was called Basande. Hamilton was called Kangbe. Godrich was called Funkia, and so on. Where are those names? So how the colonial mentality started. Soft touch.
The changing of the colors took place on the night of April 26th. At exactly 11:58 and a half, the light on the British flag was turned off, and the green, white, and blue flag of an independent Sierra Leone unfurled for the first time.
When it comes to how identities are politicized, when you go back to the colonial era, the first time that they allowed representation from the provinces in the legislative council, it was based on tribe, ethnicity, right? 2 from the Mendes, 1 from the Timini. So right there, that kind of categorization and the role it plays in representation dictates how the electorate is going to be responding. They're going to be organizing on the basis of Mendi or on the basis of Timini.
Bow Government Secondary School, founded in 1905, is one of the oldest in West Africa. Its 360 boys devised a most interesting and original welcome for their queen, an hour-by-hour demonstration of a day in the life of a Bow schoolboy.
You read books by Corby, Howard, and others on Bow School. In Bow School, Mendi boys were taught by Mendi teachers, Timni boys by Timni teachers, and they even had tug-of-war contests, right? Tug-of-war contests that will feature Mendi students versus Timni students, reinforcing, because the colonial administration wanted to reinforce this sense of tribal consciousness. They wanted provincial students to retain what they call that pristine attachment to their tribal culture, uninfected, you know, by what they thought was the Western orientation, you know, of Creoles. That's why they did not even want Creoles to be going to both school, because that was set up for the sons and wards of chiefs. So right off the bat, in terms of how they approached governance, colonial governance was about exaggerating these differences so you can fragment resistance to colonial domination. It's the old divide and rule kind of policy.
There was never a state in Sierra Leone before the coming of the British that was tagged ethnic. No. Today you hear people talking about Mendeland, Timiniland. Those categories never existed at all. You add states that were not there because of ethnicity. In fact, most of the states that existed before the coming of colonialism were multi-ethnic all over. Not peculiar to Sierra Leone, all over. What the British and the French did was to carve out Africa in ethnic towns. So ethnicity as a mode of governance was imposed on Africa. And we stupidly imbibed it. Because when the colonialists were ready to depart, 1945 to 1960, what happened? Africa responded by creating ethnic parties. Now, don't get me wrong. It was not everywhere that ethnic parties were created. No. APC and SLPP did not start out as ethnic parties. No. The only party in Sierra Leone that one would argue started out precisely on that mark is the National Council, which was colony-based, run by Bankole Bright. But SLPP was a coalition of chiefs and educated elites from Freetown. APC that came in September 1960 was the same thing. Ethnicity got on board later, not at the beginning.
When you dig deep, you realize that many Mendes were actually Madingos. They're Madingo offshoots. And many Timnis were actually Korankos and Susus. I've done extensive ethnographic research, that brings that out. You look at a family like the Sharifs. The Sharifs, you have a northern component and a southern component. The southern component are more Mendi. The point I'm making is how hybridized identities are in Sierra Leone, going back to the original, what were called Sape and Mani imaginaries, because the original people who were here were called Sapes, by the Portuguese, and these were the Buloms, the Timnes, the Kisis and the Limbas, but the Limbas and the Shabros are considered the original inhabitants. Then you have the vast majority of other ethnies that came in, and these were the Manis. And, the Mendis, obviously, the Korankos, the Alunkas, Madingos, all of those speak a Mandi language. And you could see the linguistic similarities. There's so much intermixing of ethnic groups, which makes the politicization of these identities very much exaggerated and belied by the reality. We are lucky that we don't have the religious part, the religious, factor to deal with, which Nigeria and some of these other countries are dealing with today.
When I tell people that almost every community that existed here before the coming of the white man was multi-ethnic, they were like, Mendeland, there was nothing like that. Timiniland, there was nothing like that. But once the white man came, they created these chiefdoms. That was the beginning of the problem. Oh yes. People used to say that when you talk about green, that in so-called Southern Sierra Leone, the green is like a religion. Because green gets hooked up with the poro and, you have to take an oath and then you belong, and it becomes messy. You can't leave. You are born green and you die green. So if you look at it from that point of view, yes, in fact it's deadly politics. Because you are there. Look at the Mende man, you look at the Lokoman and the Timini man. What is the difference? I can't find any. I can't find it. If you're unemployed, you're unemployed. When the dollar is rumbling, when the dollar is going up, when the Leone is rumbling, it affects all of us.
Show me one region in Sierra Leone. Show me one ethnic group in Sierra Leone that has largely benefited from the very so-called political parties, which not the people is the political parties. The political parties are the ones claiming that they own certain regions. If it were a politics that is beneficial, in that sense, show me one region in Sierra Leone that has become so powerful, so developed, because they believe that they support one political party. I don't know of any. So again, I can also say I don't know of any region in Sierra Leone. I don't know of any ethnic group in Sierra Leone for which is completely dominated by one political party. I don't know. That is not to say you don't have particular tribes or regions that massively vote for one political party. If we are talking about an effective democratic discourse, once we reduce democratic discourse to regions, to politics, to color, that is where our problem begins. At that point, what happens? Objectivity honesty, impartiality, all of those values will go away. I am now coming to support Party A because Party A is from my region, and I have been made to believe that everybody who comes from that region should be supportive of what Party A is doing. That is why we have come to a position now in which even criticism, for you to be critical of the system, sometimes they even question you to say, what's your name? Oh, Mr. A. Oh, yeah, Mr. A. You don't know that this government that is in power is our government. We don't expect such criticisms to come from you because it is believed that you are from the ethnic group, you are from the tribe. Those things will not go well.
Next year, 1962, we hope to have a general election, and it will be the first time all women in Sierra Leone will be taking part in the voting for their representative. And I'm sure that the women are looking forward to that time when they could be well represented in the legislature of our country.
Women have a role to play even within the divide, because politics is about numbers, and no political party is going to go anywhere without having the women supporting them. Okay. So, and this is why it's important that women also to have, for them to take the role of mediators, for them to take the role as the peacekeepers, and look at this divide and say, well, actually, politics is not about dying, no. It's about it's about voting for who you best think, and then moving on with it. So we are quite polarized. Like a lot of other countries, you always have the two major political parties, and women have an integral part to play in these two parties.
Now the narratives that we will all get. So man can say because they party A and company they party B, they all two na mortal enemy. We be say like now that's for be the deal, because we all know for the one side. If we dey one side, in order for sweet.
When I say this time APC, the thing say na Limba Tirili, and then they control am. When I say SLPP, we say Mende and Shabu. But them two parties there again, but all this draw will take place. We dey always find out say the APC na the Limba no more they need the party. The SLPP not only dey man self again, na Shabu man. So we see more. The two problem is that the Timini and the Mende now they the problem they actually to say talk me. But again, if we can talk the truth, the Timini they for always understand say even when you kind of Mende line here, the Timini they plenty now too much. We accept them, we deal with them always, we give them woman, we give them place for live, we give them anything so far we do as simple as that. Get me? Eh? So that unity there now we go one let it there in the same way inside the party there.
Well, the kind of politics where they play in this country, I don't think say then two parties are so able to unite with. They don't go able. Some people like Kikaya, they say yeah na SLPP grassroots, like they don't do business with too much. They get me? Eh? So that they affect with the business, and then some area then they will say no king, but majority no can go do business because they say na other side this side. So you don't see even some customer where they can tribe the way they talk, other man talk to other tribe, they don't get for do business with you, they transfer to the other person. So you don't see say this party business it don't really affect the economy and this country that way they.
We are kind of divided, but what I love about Sierra Leone is even though they come with their tribalism and stuff, no matter what, we are still one. We are living very peacefully. Us Christians and Muslims, we're living in Sierra Leone very peacefully. Where you see other nations, they have wars just because of having different religions, even some parts of Nigeria. But still, we're still living in peaceful harmony. So that tells us that we're people that are one. No matter whoever comes in power.
First of all, before change the mindset, this attitude of say, Like one thing they will come out Southeast way, a very very unfortunate statement. BD mia. By that we mean you brother na you brother.
What's that word again?
BD mia. You brother na you brother. It is a very unfortunate statement. What make it unfortunate? It means say me brother na me brother. Anyhow it be na me brother. But no, the answer is no. If you they do bad, I forget the moral courage for say you say you do bad. If you they do good, I forget the moral courage for say you say you do good. As a leader, you don't do for let you get degree for let you know say the country divide. You don't need degree. You just need for know say then figures they also show me say we country divide. So what you need for do? Now for harmonize the country. But if you say with man them don't divide the country, get me in the line, team in the line. I mean, you create more, you add more insult to injury. What you they try for do? See how you they step yourself within them things and then you harmonize the country, put the country before and move ahead.
If you are born in Moyamba to Mende parents and you begin to grow up and you hear them speak Mende and they eat Mende food, they dress Mende, they sing Mende song, they go Mende societies. And as you grow older, politics came. And you heard your father say, SLPP, man. Oh, SLPP. When your time comes, which party do you go to? To create my... No. It's not natural, in fact. But, like I say, how do we manage?
Tribalism for the ordinary African amounts to false consciousness. Because they're subscribing to an ideology that is not in their interest. Their consciousness is antagonistic to their interest, acting tribally, along tribal, based on tribal calculations, do not further, it does not further their interest. It furthers the interest of the elites who are making these appeals, because these are opportunistic politicians. So for them, it's all right. It furthers their interest, but for the masses, they are being duped. So tribalism becomes the opiate of the masses, right? It mystifies their consciousness, prevents them from cutting through, the crap that they are confronted with, and realize that they are being taken. So we say it's pretty much false consciousness. And how you bring awareness to the masses, that ends up threatening the elites, the political class. Because they are so vested in ethnic politics. They are the beneficiaries. They are the cultural politicians, the cultural entrepreneurs, you name it.
I can bet you none of these two parties can claim membership more than 20,000 nationally. I'm talking about registered members who pay their dues religiously. They don't have them.
I think the most significant fault line in our country today is ethno-regional. The ethno-regional polarization of the country. And that is reflected in the political parties because they reinforce that polarization. The parties don't cut across that polarization. Our loyalties are reinforcing that polarization. They're not cut-crossing or cross-cutting rather, that polarization. And it's not you look at people's party membership, support for party, voting behavior. They're not cross-cutting at all. They just reinforce each other. You can pretty much determine that if somebody is from the north, 80 to 90% probability they're going to be voting for the party that is identified with northern elites. I'm not going to say northern interests because you got to really decouple the interest of the elites from those of the masses. These parties are unreconstructed patronage outfits, and they're not mass parties. They appeal more to affect, to sentiment. And that is what is driving them.
Color, to my mind, is a mere symbol. It's a representation. It is not a politics of color. To me, if you ask me, it's a politics of greedy and selfish people created a club that we can say maybe the club of the big boys and the big girls who have used those mere colors to represent their wider and selfish interests. So it is not a color. Rather, they are using the color, or they are purporting to use the color to hide behind something. I don't think, and this is my view, that we should go down so low as a country to the extent of attributing a color to a political party. To an extent that a man and a woman is no longer free to put on certain colors because you be attributed. That fear factor alone is not good for the body politic of the country, is not good for political discourse, is not good for freedom of expression, is not good for freedom of association. That's the first thing I have problems with. And I would conclusively say that that is not something that the media should condone or should support. That is not the way to go.
Since power is centralized in the presidency, you have to have a president, yes, that knows what should be done and does it as per law, not favoring anybody. But if there are special interests to negotiate as against the collective, then especially ethnic interest, well, things won't get done. And people will get away with murder.
With all what you say, you think that wherever this country go better?
It boils down to one thing: we mindset. You don't understand? We mindset. Now, what happen? All the countries in the world will make them like it today. Then get them structures them with them put where at least they care then go fine. Now waiting. Now their mindset then change. Then come with revolutions. Understand? By changing things, we put we institutions them, we make them strong. We the people that we come on and over fight for we institutions.
We all family them where we don't meet. The only hope where they get now we. Who self don't come and feel say we get hope anyway. Hope they, but the hope therefore be achieved by a change. If change don't come, I don't feel say we get hope presently this country, this situation over the past. So me your opinion, I feel say no more. We get for forget about color, tribalism, and party business. If we go there with the citizen, with the young generation, if we go there make we able like come up with another party, we go able help this country apart from them two parties. Because them two parties are really they don't really affect we present and we future. They don't affect them greatly.
Let we help we serve. The kind of more we did together. When you go Limbala, you meet Monday, you meet Rio Monday, you meet Timini Monday. When you come in Limbala, you meet Timini Day, you meet Limba Monday. We all there as one. So as long as we coordinate together, we will always get love for ourselves.
The things that unite us and the things that bind us together, they are much more greater than the ones that divide us. We'll just give you one good example. Nations Cup. Everybody was putting on the green, white, and blue. Why didn't they put on those two colors? So what that's telling you? It means that there is hope. To answer your question directly, it means there is a time that we are conscious as a nation, and it appears as if that there is a time to become unconscious or maybe subconscious. I am somebody who is always optimistic. I believe there is light at the end of the tunnel. We don't know how far we have gone into the tunnel, but I believe there will be a light at the end of the tunnel.
I've lost confidence and hope in the political leadership. Okay, it seems like it doesn't matter who comes in, which party, they're playing games with our lives, with our futures, and what have you. What gives me the most hope amongst is our people. We are a resilient people. We have one of the highest IQs in Africa. If we can only maximize our potential, if given the opportunity, Sierra Leoneans do excel in any walk of life. It is that human resource base that gives me hope.
Politics is politics. Abstract. There is nothing called politics anywhere. Red is red. There's nothing you can, the whole abstract stuff is how we operate it. Democracy can be good depending on the players. Politics can be good or bad depending on the players. Yeah? Color red, APC, SLPP can be good or bad depending on the players. So it's not just how they have affected. No, we are making the politics what we want it to be. That's all. If we want it right, it will be right. You go to the right people, the right place, and get the right decision, the right advice, develop the right skills, and you come make things. We have not been there yet.
There is room for change, room for improvement. And we only pray and hope say that will happen one day. The narrative of we the youngsters them, the kind of change. So like now we don't know say, we get for be, we self-keeper. We get for love one another. So due to that, I know say if we go another high place, we will be able to implement that in things and